Hello everyone, I am Watermelon Enthusiast. I hope you are having a good insert time of day here. Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to read insert time of day here out loud. This video is called The Big Bang and Shiva. What is the connection? It is by a Hindu guru. Big shock, a video about Shiva is by a Hindu guru. His name is Jagadish Vasudev, although he goes by Sadhguru. The video opens with an obnoxious intro. I'll skip that for you. But the question asked is this. They say everything began with the Big Bang out of nothing, but what is the true nature of time and space? Which is a non sequitur, and also not what they say. I might skip around a bit in this video. I might not respond to all of it. I don't know yet. I found the video rather boring and expected. Mostly he centers his argument on, or I guess you'll see when we get into it. So, with that being said…
To measure time, at one time we used to have hourglasses, sand. That was like the Mayan calendar. It would run out of sand at some point. 2012, then they don't know what to do. Then we understood the limitation of something moving from one place to another, and we set up these clocks, which are cyclical. We understood once it's a cycle, we can keep it going forever and ever, at least ever in our context. In terms of human life context, ever.
I have to be honest, I don't think the Mayan calendar stopped at 2012 because they didn't understand the idea of a circle. In fact, I think the Mayan calendar that ends at 2012 that we found was carved into a circular object. And a clock doesn't run for an entire human lifespan. We have to constantly tune our clocks so that they run correctly. We have to adjust our watches, we have to tap the digital thing on the microwave, unless it's connected to the internet because progress or something. My point is, we have to change the clocks constantly. If you set up a clock and just leave it there to run for 5 years, it will drift significantly, especially a mechanical one. We have to constantly change the clocks. Now, a tower, like Big Ben, that might not apply to, but for the average person, we're changing our clocks all the time. Especially when daylight savings time kicks in. I hate daylight savings time, but that's besides the point. Anyway, I appreciate discussing the history of telling time with you, but could you get to the actual point?
We still have grandfather clocks. Though the grandfathers are dead, the clocks are still on, still working, isn't it? Grandfather stopped ticking long ago, but his clock is still ticking.
No, you cannot joke about that.
Yeah, that's not funny, Arthur. That's not the kind of humor we do on this show.
So we understood the durability, the endurance of a cycle. So we shifted the clock from dropping sand to… So we are almost sometimes talking about perpetual clocks these days. Solar-powered clocks and other things are supposed to be perpetual. Nothing is perpetual. Perpetual compared to the human lifespan, yes. So when you said the Big Bang, Paul
Joseph Steinhardt, to be exact.
who wrote a very popular book in science today, titled his book as Endless Universe. Always, the Indian way of looking at things always said, existence is an ever-expanding existence.
Accepting the Big Bang Theory is correct. I have expressed gripes with the idea before. I have also come to accept it more over time as being correct. Anyway, accepting it as correct, if you have a continent of, at this point, more than 1 billion people, of course at some point, someone will get lucky and be right about something they couldn't have known anything about. So I wouldn't be shocked if the Indian way of looking at things had gotten this right. That wouldn't go any way to proving Shiva, Brahman, Karma, Dharma, the power of gurus, spirituality, spiritual chakras. None of it.
It is endless not because it's endless, because it's ever-expanding.
Well, if that's true, then it isn't endless, by definition. I mean, You could say it will expand endlessly, but that doesn't actually make it endless. That just means that it's reaching a point of endlessness. If I spill water on a table, it will expand out. Let's say it starts expanding out and never stops. Does that make the water endless? At each point in time, the water has ends, right? So it's not that the water is endless. The water is ever expanding. Endless does not mean ever expanding. Get your words right. You're trying to create this pitiful analogy or metaphor, essentially, where modern science proves Hinduism. Just like with every religion, it fails miserably. How could it not?
It's expanding beyond your comprehension.
How is my ability to comprehend tied at all to how endless something is?
Faster than your comprehension. So it is an ever-expanding universe. An ever-expanding universe is an endless universe.
Again, how does that track? How is that what follows? That doesn't baseball, huh? Just because something is expanding forever, faster than anyone can know, that does not make it endless. Something has no ends, and something's ends growing forever without stopping are very different. In fact, they are mutually exclusive, definitionally.
So Paul
Steinhardt. In a little bit, you are going to claim to have met the guy. Something about this video makes me not want to believe you on that. How insulting would it be if you actually did meet the guy, and you can't even get his fucking name right? Steinhardt. Paul Reinhardt is a hockey player. Paul Gerard Reinhardt is a former Canadian ice hockey player. Paul Joseph Steinhardt is an American theoretical physicist. Bavitra guy.
made a very interesting computer models, simulations of Big Bang. So, I happened to meet him and he was giving a talk showing his computer simulations of Big Bang. And the amazing thing is, these Big Bangs, he says, and now all the scientists are saying, there was no one Big Bang, there was series of bangs.
Let's just take that on face value. You don't care to back your claim up, but I'll just roll with it, cause why not? So, you say, there was a series of bangs that led to our universe. I think it's fair to say that we can conceptualize the expansion of the universe as bangs, so every time the universe expands, it's another bang. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just trying to create a model or system that aligns with what you said for the sake of argument. So, now, if we accept this model, which we don't have to, your job now is to prove to me, and my viewership, that this model proves the truth of Hinduism.
We had a long chat, about 5.5 hours. We started talking and everything that he's propounding, where he's trying to show the simulated version of Big Bang, is the description of Shiva that we're talking about all the time. It's incredible.
Add that to the list of times I've heard a religious person claim modern science is describing literally exactly what their religion says, when that's not actually the thing that modern science or their religion actually says. So, according to you, modern science is saying that there was a series of bangs that led to the expansion of the universe. I said it would be fair enough to say that every time the universe expands, it's another bang. If I was out of line for that, feel free to say no. But I think it's a fair model of the description. Okay, so that's the model we are working with. How does the actual, literal god Shiva play into this? And, even if Shiva did play into this, how does that account for Brahman, Karma, Dharma, chakras, and so on?
And he said it's a series of bangs, not a single bang. So I asked him a simple question. So if it's a series of bangs, could it be a roar?
Add that to the list of times I've heard a religious person claim to have asked a scientist a question about what they said to try to prompt the scientist to admit that a hypothetical scenario is possible that could possibly support their religion. So, if he says yes, that is hypothetically possible. Does that actually mean anything? If he says, yes, I am a famous ice hockey player named Paul Reinhardt, and yes, a series of bangs could be a roar. What does that do for your religion? How does that help your claims at all? A hypothetical scenario is hypothetically possible, and that hypothetical scenario may support your religion. If that's the level we're working on here, you could easily just say, isn't it hypothetically possible, if the universe is expanding, that Shiva is the one making it expand? Sure, it's hypothetically possible your religion is correct. Where does that get you, though? Nowhere. It gets you nowhere. Your religion is hypothetically possible, given a hypothetical scenario where it's true. Isn't it hypothetically possible that the entire Bible is correct and Satan is the perfect deceiver and can flawlessly deceive us, so that we cannot know the truth unless we have faith in the sacrifice of Jesus Christ? If he says no, what do you do then? If he says, nope, I'm a famous ice hockey player named Paul Reinhardt, and it could not have been a roar, what do you do then? Just discard what he said and say, oh well, science is just turning away from the divine Dharma and the great Lord Brahma. It should be turned away from so one can follow the spiritual path. With religious gurus and prophets and priests, it's always the same. Anecdotally, I know of no religious leader who has ever been confronted by the actual science and gone, yeah, you're right, my religion is wrong. It's always, science supports my religion, or science is wrong. Apparently you believe mercury in medicinal contexts is good, and you claimed to be able to turn mercury to a solid at room temperature, all allegedly. None of that is scientific. That is anti-science. So on the Big Bang Theory, science supports my religion. On Mercury, science is wrong. What a big shock. Religious person believes what they want to believe about science for their own convenience and maintaining their religion. Let's all give a round of applause. What a sophisticated and great religion. From east to west, north to south, big hairless monkeys, white, black, brown, dark, light, tanned, untanned, brown eyes, blue eyes, black hair, blonde hair, brown hair, beards, shaven, man, woman, old, young, from all over the planet. Humanity, a species that would rather pick and choose what to believe from different sources than face the actual facts of reality. Some people think Buddhism, Hinduism, religious forms of Taoism, Chinese folk religions, Shintoism, African traditional religions, Aboriginal Australian religions, Amerindian religions, Native European religions, even Islam and Judaism, that these religions are somehow better, smarter, more advanced or less oppressive or wrong than Christianity or Abrahamic religions broadly. They aren't. They are not. Jainism, an atheistic religion that has basically the same philosophy on the value of life as I do, is still just as wrong and just as stupid as any other religion. And I'm tired of people acting like it's not.
See, if you take off the silencer for a motorcycle or a car, it won't do brrr, it'll do dap, 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 dap. Big bangs are happening. This is how an engine is working, the internal combustion engine is firing.
Sure, if you accept the model that every time the universe expands it's another bang, that could be an apt metaphor for the process. We still haven't established that, but we have accepted it for the sake of argument. But I would like if you continued with the story you were telling instead of getting sidetracked.
He said, well, it could be a road. I never thought like this, but according to my numbers, yes, I don't know numbers, I can barely count my fingers, okay?
I feel like apologists and gurus always talk like this. I think they think the more they talk like this, the less people will pay attention to the flaws in the story. I find it annoying. You're in the middle of a story. Tell the story.
Yes, it could be a road. Then I told him, do you know, in our culture, in the Indian way of life, particularly in the yogic system, we always said everything was still, primordial, absolutely still. Then Shakti came. This is right now what they're saying in physics.
What they are saying in modern physics is that everything was still until the divine spirit of feminine energy came and played music?
What they're saying in physics is, in vacuum state, if you give some electromagnetic forces, not inside, outside, let's say there is a chamber in vacuum, absolute vacuum condition, if you apply some electromagnetic forces here, not inside, outside, immediately here, virtual protons and neutrons will happen. So right now they're saying this is how the creation started. There was absolute stillness.
Oh boy. Okay, deep breath. I'm ready. Go ahead. Explain how modern science definitely supports your religion.
Nothingness, which we call Shiva. Shiva means that which is not. Everything was that which is not.
According to Wiktionary, which I know isn't the best source, Shiva comes from the PIE kiwash, meaning intimate or friendly, and kye, which means to settle down. So it literally means to settle down intimately, or to live in a friendly way. It came to mean auspicious in Sanskrit. Auspicious means fortune, basically. And from there, it became a proper noun meaning the auspicious one. If I had to guess, it probably had something to do with not evoking the god's name and also not speaking negatively about it. Same happened with the Erinyes of Greek mythos, who were called Eumenides, meaning gracious ones, to avoid angering them. So no, Shiva does not mean that which is not. To say that in Sanskrit, you would say something like Kimapin or Kimapina. So if the god Shiva was named Kimapina, then you could say that the name meant that which is not. But unfortunately for you, his name means the auspicious one.
Then Shakti started coming and playing here, and he woke up and he rolled. So his first form we called, he's a Rudra. The word Rudra literally means a roarer. For the first time he roared. When he roared, he took the form of a linga, an ellipsoid. This is what the physicists are saying today.
This is what the physicists are saying today. This is that Shiva, which doesn't mean the auspicious one, but that which is nothing, I guess, woke up because of Shakti playing her instruments. And so Shiva woke up, became the one who roars, took the form of a lingam, and this is the start of entropy. I can find this in physics textbooks. If I buy a textbook written by the top minds of modern physics and I flip through it, I will find diagrams and cited papers describing the claims of Hinduism and Isharudra. Of fucking course not. Of course that's not what's gonna happen. This is nonsense, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like you aren't just making up shit. What is your basis for this absurd claim? Think back, what is his basis for this? A physicist said that multiple bangs happened, not just one. Then, Sadhguru asked if it's possible that this was a roar. Then he allegedly said it could have been a roar. Let's be real here. You have absolutely fucking nothing. There is no basis for your claims. None. I have heard better arguments to support less realistic things. I have come closer to accepting claims about more absurd ideas than I am to accepting your claims based on this evidence. This is absolutely pitiful.
He's saying it's a series of bangs, it is a roar. When he roared, series of ellipsoid forms happened.
Nobody is saying that but you. You look cool, your clothes make you look super cool, and you are on this very nice looking chair. But you are saying some of the stupidest shit on the planet, man. You have no better claims than Christians, or Muslims, or Judaists. You have no better claims or evidence. It's all bullshit. That's what I was talking about earlier. Some people think your ideas are smarter, or better, or more advanced than Christian claims. But the only difference between you and a priest is that your cool clothes are a little different from his cool clothes, and your cool chair is a little different from his cool chair. You have a long white beard and he doesn't. And you talk about Shiva roaring and he talks about Yahweh speaking. You're both wrong. You're both ignorant. You should both learn more about science, and you should both shut up about things you don't understand. We should all shut up about things we don't understand. You seem like a nice enough person, but you're a charlatan. Just like every other priest, prophet, guru, or apologist, and I can't sit by while you say this shit. If you have something more substantial than this, we can have a conversation. Until that point, respectfully, just shut the fuck up. I keep saying it to you people, and none of you ever listen. Seriously, you don't know what you're talking about, so just shut up. I won't tell you what is and isn't true of Hindu mythology and those fictional tales you tell each other. And in exchange, I ask that you stop trying to tell other people about science, because in both cases we aren't actually equipped for that conversation.
Where does time fit in? Where does time come from? Time doesn't exist.
Oh, that's odd. You see, I thought time was how things changed. You can move forward and backward horizontally, vertically, and distally or proximally, and then you also are forced to move forward temporally, because brains and conscious experiences are just material phenomena, and time is how things change. So when a mind changes, which happens at every time step, it is perceived as moving forward in time, which is therefore the definition of time for it to be a useful word. Well, now that we all know that time isn't real, I'm sure people have some mistakes they have to go back and fix. Why haven't you done that yet, viewer? Oh, you say that time is real and you are bound to your current trajectory through it? You say time travel isn't physically possible and you have to just keep moving forward without dwelling too much on the past? Well, I'm glad I'm a demon. But then the question arises, why did he say that time isn't real?
It is only because your conscious mind wants to compartmentalize everything. The nature of the intellect is, if it doesn't cut something, it cannot understand anything.
Ah, okay. So time is just the omniscient human mind deciding to cut events down into segments to understand them. That is why people can see the future and stuff, right? Or can people not see the future? Joking aside, your claim is absurd. You are proposing that all of time exists in the human mind at once, but we just don't realize it because our intellect decides to cut everything into pieces, because if you don't do that, you cannot understand it. You cannot understand a whole. You must only understand parts. Are you going to provide any evidence for that? Any justification that the mind can't understand whole things? Or are you just going to say it, move on, and act like it's a fact? Like all priests, prophets, gurus always do. Why do I torture myself thusly? Why do I watch these videos and reply to them? If only there was a God, I could ask why to. Oh well. Too bad emotions aren't a rational justification for believing a claim.
Isn't it? See, the very basis of your intellect is, it is like a scalpel which cuts open everything. Only if it cuts, it will know, otherwise it will not know. So because we have developed modern science through an intellectual process, our way of knowing is always dissection, isn't it?
Okay, so no evidence, justification, just, it is the way I describe, therefore I am right. You say models in science, but you are talking about experiencing time. What is the relevance of science? If I get super irrational and emotional, do I suddenly see all of time at once? Evidently not, so why do you suggest this? If you say no one can go beyond seeing time as distinct segments, then your claim is unfalsifiable. Will you provide any evidence for your claim and justification at all? Obviously, to say time does exist is a positive claim. Saying time definitely does not, saying we only experience it because we have to dissect things to understand them, is also a positive claim. I do think time is a real phenomenon, but when I say that, I mean that time is the change in a thing's state, which is clear from observation to be true, unless you propose simulation theory or last Thursdayism. I don't know if an actual timeline, as such, exists, or if this type of experience is simply because our brains are objects that exist in space that change with time. I suppose what I'm trying to say is this. I will withhold judgment on the reality or falsehood of time in an abstract sense, but that means I will not just accept your claim that it is not real, just as much as I won't just accept the claim it definitely is real.
This happened a few years ago, many years ago. I never subject myself to such indignities anymore. I was with a group of people and they said, we want to test your gamma waves. I did not know I have gamma waves in me.
You probably did not know what gamma waves are. You, probably don't know what gamma waves are.
They said, no, you have gamma waves in your brain, we want to measure this. I said, okay, because I was obligated to them for something and I said, okay. So they put 14 different electrodes into me and they said, you meditate. I said, I don't know how to meditate. They said, why you teach everybody meditation, you don't know? I said, I don't know how to meditate, I teach people, but I don't know.
I was with some demon friends one time. We went to the human world. They said, tell them a deep truth of the universe. I said, I don't know any deep truths of the universe. They said, you teach other people how to find truth, you don't know? I said, I don't know any deep truths. I teach people, but I don't. That was meant to be a jab at you. Look how ridiculous this sounds. But sitting in this chair, reading this script out loud, I realized that that's just real. That's just true. I tell people how to find out what is true. I try to help people uncover falsehood. I don't know what's true and false. I am supposed to know. Ironic. I guess we're both incompetent.
And they asked, okay, what can you do? I said, if you want, I can sit still.
Believe it or not, I have meditated. In fact, I used to do it very frequently. Having done so, maybe I'm just being stupid, but what is the difference between meditating and just sitting still with your eyes closed? Clearly, I don't do the clear your mind type of meditation. I understand if that's what you teach, then you might not know how to do that. But I think that's a waste of time anyway. The value, for me, in meditation are the thoughts and the naturalness. I'm a secular Taoist, so it shouldn't be surprising. Forcing my mind to be still is like forcing a river to be still. You will destroy the river and create a lake. When it gets the chance, it will flow much faster than before. Too fast, in fact.
Then they discussed and they said, okay. So I just sat still. After 15–20 minutes, they're hitting me with some metallic object on my ankle, on my knee, in my elbow. Initially I thought, okay, this is some part of their experiment, and I waited. Then it became more and more persistent and very painful. I thought, what is it that they want to do to me? They want to break my bones or… Then not able to bear the pain, I opened my eyes and looked. They were all giving me a weird look. They looked at me like this. I said, did I do something wrong? They said, our instruments say you're dead. I said, this is a great diagnosis you have. Then they said, obviously you're not dead, you're talking. Either you're dead or your brain is dead.
Do I say it? Do I say the thing?
And I said, the second one is too insulting. I'll take the first one. I don't mind being dead.
Do I? Can I? I called it. Or, oh, you don't get to choose which one, you're stupid and that's just that. I don't know, there are so many jokes I could make here. All are very funny and very insulting. But seriously, what was the point of this story? What was this meant to prove? I think the point you are trying to get at is that modern scientific instruments are insufficient to explain reality. But your only evidence, thus far, is a personal anecdote about some faulty equipment. Either faulty equipment or you being brain dead, which… Anyway, faulty equipment. If the story is even true, that is. I don't know that I believe you. Generally, when a religious leader tells me a story, I err on the side of false until corroborated. Your story, also, is extremely exaggerated. It's like a Jesus story, which we all know must have been the most truest stories of all time. A wise man went up to Jesus, asked him what color this apple was. He said it was blue when it was clearly red. The wise man called him an idiot and then looked again and it was blue. Lord Jesus is the Savior. Stupid, exaggerated story meant to inflate a particular individual's ego and paint them as some kind of divine or powerful figure. Utterly useless.
Why I'm saying this is, you are trying to enter every space in creation through physical means.
I called it. You told this anecdotal story about, ultimately, what it comes down to, faulty equipment, to try to make a point about physical versus metaphysical reality. There is no metaphysical reality. There is no spiritualism or anything of the sort. You have no proof of it. Nobody has any proof of it because there is no proof for things that are fiction. There is no proof that Frodo threw the ring into Mordor because there is no Frodo, no ring to rule them all, and there is no Mordor. You can't prove it to be true because it isn't true. At least the Lord of the Rings is internally consistent. Most religions fail at that. Because most religions, I think especially Hinduism, are just collections of ancient stories, myths, and legends, retold by various people to various other people for various reasons. But I said I wouldn't say anything about Hinduism in particular because I don't know much about it, so I won't. My point is, your evidence is beyond flimsy, and the thing you believe is unjustified. Either that, or you really are brain dead. I guess that's true either way.
For the first time, a large percentage of the responsible scientific community
Responsible scientific community. Nice clarifying statement. Wouldn't want to leave it without reserving the right to pick and choose who fits your example and who doesn't. Oh, they disagree with me? They just aren't responsible.
is clearly saying universe is endless.
That's funny. I hear the exact opposite from people of Abrahamic religions. Why don't you go talk to them about it? But, anyway, no. Even under what you claim, they are not saying it is endless. They are saying it is ever-expanding according to you, which is not the same as endless. I guess they are saying it is ever-expanding in a way, but the actual facts of what they are saying is ultimately irrelevant at this current moment.
And they're also saying, we will never know the nature of creation.
Whoa! Where did that come from? Whoever said that? You just said that to say that. You have no reason to say that, do you? You do have a reason, I guess. It defends your religion. I hear the same thing from Christians and Muslims and Jews and deists and so on. But no one ever defends this claim, backs it up with anything. Instead you just hear it said and then moved on from. Science gave up on the beginning of the universe. Now believe. Whoever said that science is giving up on the beginnings? Quote a single cosmologist, please. I would love to hear from an actual scientist working in the field. But you can't, I suspect. You can't. Because there are no cosmologists who have said that we are giving up on the beginnings. Because no cosmologist would ever say that because it is completely ridiculous. The main job of cosmologists now is the beginnings. That's the main thing they do.
Not that we do not know, we will never know.
I think I'm done. I think there was some funny stuff at the end. Let me check and we'll see. Fades out. Fades in. I'm back. There was some stuff, but I'm tired. Not as in sleeping. My ever-watching eye is, well, ever-watching. But I am tired of responding to this video. I think I'm going to go back to doing demon things, like introducing doubt into people's hearts. Always remember to let doubt in. Let the mind wander. Don't ignore uncomfortable questions and thoughts. All of these things are essential for staying accurate to reality. You can never have too much doubt. I'm serious. You can never have too much doubt, and don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. Or, maybe do. Because then you'll be doubting my words. Which is doubt. Which is good. Have a good night, or a good day, depending. Thank you for watching, and thank you to my patrons, who, as of writing the script, are Benjamin Johnson and Michael McConnell. Also, they should be on screen. I may have been lazy when editing this video, so I'm sorry if the character was just a static frame. If not, this section probably sounds extremely silly. Accepting the Big Bang Theory is correct. Bernie, are you fucking kidding me? Shut up. Your job is now to prove to me, and to my viewership, I not meant to say that part out loud. No, I am.